Mobile applications show mobility of people in the Philippines. Nationwide, more have been going to supermarkets and pharmacies this pandemic. But a closer look at the regions shows the number of people traveling and going to parks in Calabarzon recently was almost the same as before the pandemic despite movement restrictions.
Recent na ECQ natin, halos nawawala na yung paging effective niya in terms of inhibiting people to go outside. Yung blue kasi, which is grocery and pharmacy, understandable yan kasi talagang kailangan pumunta ng mga tao sa groceries and pharmacy. Kaya tumaas din siya. Actually, more than the pre-pandemic level. Yung parks, tsaka yung transit, nag-increase talaga siya ng todo.
Psychologist Camille Garcia is not surprised with this data as many are experiencing pandemic fatigue. A quick trip may be a way to cope with stress brought by a long period of restricted lifestyle.
We're so exhausted with what is happening na talagang yung restricted na yung lifestyle natin. It becomes so difficult for us kasi parang hindi pa rin natin na-achieve yung supposed to be new normal.
The World Health Organization says pandemic fatigue could be causing a growing number of people to disregard protective health measures such as simply washing hands, wearing face masks, and social distancing. In fact, the WHO says more people are stressed over social and economic effects of the pandemic, such as losing a job than health risk.
It's about yung how we become so anxious. Yung mental health natin mismo talagang nagpa-falter na dahil kasi hindi ko na kaya i-cope ito. Yung mga racing thoughts na mga pwedeng mangyari sa akin.
Garcia is suggesting some ways to cope. Start journaling, declutter, be mindful, find new hobbies, and unplug yourself from bad news but stay connected with family and friends. If traveling is not an option, discover new places through books, photos, and food. Finding green spaces also helps.
All you have to do first, remove all those negative thoughts. Paano papasok yung positive kung puro negative yan?
Equally important is government's actions. The WHO says leaders should listen to what people need and find a way to reduce health risk to let people live their lives. Governments should also address the reasons others find it hard to follow health and safety measures. Those reasons include possibly losing income in case they are placed in isolation. Caroline Bongkin, CNN Philippines.
A former Commission on Elections official offers a compromise amid several calls to extend the voter registration period, which ends next Thursday, September 30th. Former Commissioner Louis Gia led the Election 2022 coalition in asking the poll body to consider requests for more time to register in areas like Metro Manila, which was under lockdown for a month. Gia says he understands preparations may be delayed if the total number of voters is not finalized early, which is needed to determine the number of precincts.
To at least consider, an extension that is of equivalent period as that covered by the lockdown or the time that registration was suspended. If we want an inclusive election, then we should accommodate them as much as we can. But there is also this the requirement, the need. Kasi election project yan, dapat may mga strict timeline din yan. Otherwise, baka mabulilyado.
23 senators earlier appealed for a month-long extension through a measure which was approved on second reading today. The Comlacan Bank is set to finally discuss the matter also today, but has yet to rule on it as of now. House leaders filed a similar bill seeking to extend voter registration. Authorities are awaiting autopsy results on the death or on the body of visual artist Bree Johnson. PNP says it is working with the NBI on the case. Johnson, whose real surname is Agunod, was found dead in a La Union hostel over the weekend. Local police reportedly retrieved cocaine in the room shared by Johnson and the son of prominent businessman and former trade minister Roberto Ongpin. Julian Ongpin was allegedly the artist's last companion. He's facing drug charges but was released pending a preliminary probe. The PNP says Ongpin faced investigators yesterday to shed more light on the incident. The agency vows a fair inquiry into the case. The Immigration Bureau is also on the lookout for Ongpin in case he tries to leave the country. Still ahead on Newsnight, an upcoming rock and K-pop collaboration is making the rounds on social media. And another hot topic online, a series nabs the #1 spot on Netflix Philippines less than a week after its release. More details after the break.
Nagsimula sa isang pangarap.
Ako na po, ma'am.
Ika'y tutulungang ibahin ang buhay na nakasanayan.
Naka 24 months ka na sa pag-ibig.
Panghulog na ako sa motor.
Uy, bagong motor!
Gagawa ng hakbang para mapaghandaan ng forever.
Ingat ka ha.
At harapin na ang bukas nang may maaasahan. Simulan mo na ang forever mo ngayon. Fund your forever with Pag-ibig Fund.
Register today. Gumagaan ang inuman pag sandiglan. Oy, musta?
Ako, stressed sa work, kaya ini-imagine kong nasa beach ako.
Tapos ng mabigat na araw, mag-inuman with friends and sandiglan. Ulitin natin to. Ang alin? Imagine? Hindi. Mag-inuman.
When the world was changing for photographic film, we helped change the world as a pioneer of the digital age. In healthcare, we're revolutionizing diagnostics by applying our AI technology. But why stop there? When we can focus our AI and IoT expertise on business innovation, helping tackle some of the toughest challenges in the workplace. When it comes to innovating for a healthier world and a more sustainable society, we'll never stop. Fujifilm, value from innovation.
Listo at ganado ang baby ko sa vet-approved Nutri-Chunks with active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real meat, with essential nutrients to help them grow healthy and happy. Listo, ganado sa Nutri-Chunks. When it comes to heroes, kahit kailan hindi nagkulang ang Pilipinas. Mga taong matapang, lumalaban, at bumabangon kahit may kinakaharap na problema. O yung mga tinatawag nating never say die attitude. I'm Cristel Abello, your 2021 Ginebra San Miguel Calendar Girl, here to show you just how far a ganado sa buhay attitude can take you. Kaya samahan niyo akong kilalanin ng mga taong pwede nating pagkuhanan ng inspirasyon, lalo na sa panahon ngayon. Here on Bagong Tapang Stories. When turbulence hits in life, it hits hard. Natutunan ito ni Maurice Maureen Avila nung natanggal siya sa kanyang dream job bilang flight attendant noong 2020. Pinili niyang maging matapang. Ang tatay ni Mau ay isang tricycle driver at ang nanay niya ay nagbebenta ng peanut butter. Alam ni Mau na hindi sapat ang kinikita ng kanyang magulang para sa kanilang pamilya. So with support from her boyfriend, nagsimula siya ng kanyang unang business, ang magbenta ng LPG. Ibang-iba ito sa pagiging flight attendant, pero para kay Mau, it doesn't matter. Sabi nga niya, kahit gaano ka-glamorous yung work mo, huwag kang mahihiyang bumaba, huwag kang mahihiyang magtinda. And what other people have to say about your work does not matter. Pangarap pa rin niyang makalipad muli at bumalik sa pagiging flight attendant. But for now, whether she's selling LPG or doing any other job, she's taking things one day at a time. Everywhere in the Philippines, there's an unsung hero whose story is just waiting to be told. Just goes to show that even in our day-to-day life, anyone can embody that bagong tapang spirit. I'm Cristel Abello, your 2021 GSM Calendar Girl. See you next time for more stories na nagpapakita na kahit may bagong hamon sa buhay, may bagong tapang sa One Ginebra Nation.
You're watching Newsnight. I'm Pia Ontiveros. Beloved Filipina fashion designer Criselda Londoc said goodbye today with her youngest son releasing a heartfelt statement on Facebook. John Fernandez posted about his mother's passing, also announcing that a Zoom event will be held to celebrate Londoc's life. The design icon entered the clothing industry with Rustan's co-founder Glyceria Tantoco's help. She then went on to create her own in-house label at Londoco's retail company. The popular fashion brand Criselda, managed by Londoc for 37 years, was among Rustan's top sellers. Now, fans all over the internet have been given a glimpse of Coldplay's much-anticipated collaboration with K-pop icons BTS. Yesterday, the British band uploaded a post of the two groups singing the chorus of My Universe in the studio together. The song is set for release on Friday. They teased the upcoming track again on Twitter today with a snippet of its lyric video. Both videos have gotten over 100,000 retweets each.
And it's not that we can't be together, because each has come from different sides. You are my universe, and I just want to put you first.
My Universe will be the second single off Coldplay's next album, Music of the Spheres, and in true collaborative fashion, it'll be sung in both English and Korean to cater to both bands' supporters. The Netflix action drama Squid Game has captured netizens' attention after a Filipino face popped up on screen. If you've watched the series, you might have spotted Christian Lagahit as Player 276. The Pinoy actor and English teacher resides in South Korea. He also made appearances in other popular K-dramas like Crash Landing on You. Lagahit's posts on Instagram include photos with other cast members such as Hyo Sung-tae, whom he called one of the coolest and nicest Korean actors he's met. The series also gained attention after one of its scariest characters, a 10-foot-tall doll, appeared at the Robinsons Galleria East Wing entrance. Netflix shared a video on its Facebook page of the massive figure as it monitored unsuspecting jaywalkers. Despite premiering just 5 days ago, the thrilling Korean series is already leading the top 10 shows being viewed on Netflix Philippines. And moving from the cinema, moving from the cinemas, TV, Broadway musical turned film Dear Evan Hansen is coming to U.S. theaters this weekend. The cast talks about how the film's themes of loneliness and isolation resonated deeply with them, especially now. CNN's David Daniel reports.
Have you ever felt forgotten in the middle of nowhere?
I wish everything was different. Wish I was part of something. Wish that anything I said mattered.
Ben Platt returns to the title role in Dear Evan Hansen. 6 years after he first played the teen with social anxiety, Platt says he's learned from Evan.
I think seeing how dire things get for him in the story and how much redemption he's able to have, it's really encouraged me in my own life to force myself off those cliffs and really experience those moments of pain or discomfort in the name of something deeper and more connected.
Let that lonely feeling wash away. Maybe there's a reason to believe you'll be okay.
I didn't know that you were hurting. When you see how complicated this period of life is, I think for adolescents and for parents as well.
For me, it just felt like such a universal story. Just about needing each other, about connectivity.
When I read the script, I cried throughout the entire thing.
There are a lot of people who feel like us.
Co-star Amanda Stenberg says she poured a lot of herself into her character.
It does have to do with like my own depression and anxiety and being so anxious that, you know, I'm not going to be enough for other people.
If you knew who I am, just how broken I am.
I already know you. And I love you.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
We still have 94 days before Christmas Day, and that is it for now. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again at 7 on news.ph. I'm Pio Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Kinis ang RPN DXKD Radio Runda 1053 kHz.
Honorable Angel Halusos Carrion, Batanon, Buutan ug Malagaron, City Councilor of the Pitan City, Chairman, Committee on Tourism, Committee on Labor, Committee on Child Welfare and Development. Honorable Angel Halusos Carrion, Batanon, Buutan ug Malagaron, City Councilor of the Pitan City.
Sa panahon ng pandemyang ito, mahalagang manatili tayong physically at mentally healthy. Kung ikaw ay may karamdaman ng takot, pagkabahala at pangamba, kausapin natin ang ating mga mahal sa buhay at ituon natin ang ating atensyon sa mga bagay na makatutulong sa ating kalusugan. Maaari ring sumangguni sa 1553-0917-899, usap 8727 o 027989, usap 8727. Mental health ay pangalagaan. Tara, usap tayo, kaibigan.
Dapitan City Councilor Jezebel Bing Balisado, konsehal sa Dakbayan sa Dapitan nga dali duulon og mabibihon sa iyang mga katawhan. Konsehal Bing Balisado maluluyon og matinabangon sa tanang higayon. Konsehal Bing Balisado sa Dakbayan sa Dapitan.
Kugihan, buutan, matinud-anon sa iyang pangalagad, Honorable Jeffert Greg Bimbim Gamalinda Amoy, City Councilor of Dapitan.
Chairman, Committee on Trade, Commerce, Cooperatives and Cottage Industries.
Chair, Committee on Social Services, Urban Poor and Resettlement and Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure.
Vice Chairman, Committees on Health and Sanitation, Child's Welfare and Development, Economic Enterprise.
Member Committees on Public Utilities, Peace and Order, Barangay Affairs and Community Development, Human Rights and Good Government. Kugihan, buutan, matinud-anon sa iyang pangalagad, Honorable Jeffert Greg Bimbim Gamalinda Amoy, City Councilor of Dapitan.
RPN Radio Philippines Network, DXKD, Dipolog, Radyo Ronda, member, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Gastritis is a growing problem in Asian countries, including here in the Philippines. The condition causes inflammation of the stomach lining, triggered by stress, excessive alcohol use, certain medications, just to name a few. Now, people with gastritis experience nausea, abdominal pain, indigestion, and even at times vomiting. Now, the condition alone isn't serious for the most part, and it can go away within a few days. But as with many diseases, if left untreated, it can lead to other even serious medical conditions. On the program today, we'll talk more about the causes of gastritis, how we can prevent it, the symptoms that need to be addressed, and how to manage and treat the disease. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome to MEDTALK Health Talk on CNN Philippines. We all have a protective lining in our stomachs called mucosa. It's there to protect our stomachs from the strong stomach acids that digest the food that we eat. When something damages the mucosa, it then becomes inflamed. That's when gastritis happens. With us is Dr. Jonathan Babsay. He's a family medicine specialist from the UPPGH. And also with us is Dr. Marie Michelle Simbol Cloa, who's the chief of gastroenterology section at the Manila Doctors Hospital. Now that we know what gastritis is, let's discuss naman. Let's talk about kung anong nagkakos nito. Anong mga factors that may cause gastritis?
So the two most common causes of gastritis is still H. pylori or Helicobacter pylori, or what we call also the pain relievers or the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs.
A lot of our viewers still believe that the diet plays an important role of this. Masyado maraming ininom na kape, masyado maraming spicy food. Dr. Joe, what do you think? Is diet still a main factor when it comes to gastritis?
Food in general does not really cause gastritis. Although may mga factors na pwedeng mag-push to that. Mga, kunwari, alcohol drinks, alcoholic drinks, mga ganyan. However, if you already have gastritis, yung mga pwede nating kinakain can trigger the symptoms of gastritis.
Doc Joe, why is gastritis common in countries like ours?
Isang factor na pwede natin matanggap ay may possibility na medyo laganap ang H. pylori sa atin. Kasi mas sinasabi nila na kapag maraming compact, yung nakatira sa isang area, low-income families, ganyan, medyo mataas talaga yung incidence ng H. pylori. Kaya more than likely, laganap siya sa Pilipinas. And maraming factors na nakaka-apekto sa Pilipinas na magpaparami ng gastritis.
Are there activities that Filipinos do that may make the risk of them developing gastritis higher?
Skipping of meals, so masyadong bugbog sa trabaho or walang makain talaga na pagkain. Yung pagpili, tas minsan mabilisan yung pagkain natin, so nakaka-cause yun ng symptoms. Or minsan yung choices nga. Hindi man siya nakaka-cause talaga ng gastritis, but then it can trigger yung symptoms talaga ng gastritis.
Are there symptoms that could be so mild during the earlier stages of gastritis that a person will not mind this at all? Kumbaga, it's not something that they would notice. This is something that is not significant, but could, if unchecked, could later on lead to even more serious conditions.
Since gastritis really is a histologic diagnosis, so at first, patients with gastritis will really feel something. So for patients with dyspepsia, they would notice that they would have abdominal discomfort or pain, as I mentioned, in the epigastric area that's in between your ribs and your belly button. No? But with gastritis, you would notice that patients will complain more symptoms or more severe pain or more frequent symptoms or more with alarm features like anemia, there is passage of blood in the stool, or sometimes there is nausea, vomiting, and they have early satiety. They can no longer eat very well.
How is gastritis related with stress?
There is an increase of your acid output in your stomach. So with increased acid output and with a lessened defense mechanisms of your stomach, this can also produce your gastritis, if not outright ulcer. Alright, so stress per se can trigger symptoms of dyspepsia. At worst, can cause gastritis or ulcers as well.
No, I think it's important that our viewers know some of the differentiation, Doc Mitch, between gastritis and gastroenteritis. They both sound the same, but what are the differences?
For gastroenteritis, we're referring to infections, either viral, bacterial, or parasitic that involves the small intestine as well as the function of your stomach. So they're different because with gastritis, we are referring to an acid-related disorder.
Let's recap. Ano ba yung mga pinaka-common symptoms na mararamdaman ng isang tao who has gastritis?
Pananakit talaga nung sigmura. So, kung nasaan yung tiyan talaga. So, yun yung pinaka number one. Yung iba pang pwedeng maramdaman will be pwedeng may pagduduwal, nasusuka, yun yung mga pinaka-common doon.
Pwede bang mapagkamalan ang simptomas ng gastritis with that of indigestion o ang impatcho?
Ang impatcho basically or indigestion na hindi siya diagnosis. Pero sintomas siya na yun niya, parang puno yung tiyan, may abdominal fullness, bloated ka. So, ang kaibahan niya sa gastritis ay ang indigestion, pwede siyang sintomas ng gastritis. Yan. Pero pwede din ang indigestion ay nagkataon lang. Wala kang gastritis pero kumain ka ng marami, kumain ka ng mabilis, fatty food yung kinain mo, punong-puno yung tiyan mo, pwede kang magka-indigestion.
Our stomachs have a protective lining against strong, very strong stomach acids that help in the digestion of food. Now, our body is designed to handle normal levels of acid, but can fluctuate from time to time. And there are certain factors that will make the body actually produce more acids. Doc Mitch, when does this happen? And can the amount of acid that you produce be controlled, avoided, or even prevented?
It can be increased with stress, also with intake of your medicines, like your non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. And naturally, we produce acid because it's needed for digestion, especially of proteins. And then acid output also increases early in the morning. That's why patients have nocturnal symptoms. So one way to lessen the acid is to take medications that can control the acid output.
Now, gastritis is a common, treatable condition. If not, it may lead to stomach ulcers, stomach bleeding, and other medical conditions. And we'll discuss these complications when we return. So stay with us here on MEDTALK Health Talk. You're watching CNN Philippines.
Kini ang RPN DXKD Radio Ronda 1053 kHz.
Mga higalan namong suking tigpaminaw, maayong adlaw kaninyong tanan. Ang DXKD AM Station RPN Management Dipolog City magpahigayon og libreng panag-inambitay sa pulong sa Ginoo. Dialogo sa kamaturan. Among giawag tanang magawali sa naglain-laing relihiyon sa pagtambong ning maong programa. Dialogo sa kamaturan. Aron mapabati sa tanang katawhan ang inyong matag baruganan, sumala sa kamaturan alang sa hingpit nga kaluwasan ug kinabuhing walay katapusan. Dialogo sa kamaturan.
Ang dialogo sa kamaturan ninyong mabati matag alas 3 ngadto sa alas 5 sa hapon adlong Domingo. Katungod sa publiko nga masayod sa tinuod nga paghitabo sa palibot, may kalabot na ang pagpadagan sa mga buhatang lokal ug nasyonal. Masayod sa gihimo sa mga gitahasan nga magdumala sa rinda sa atong mga gamanan.
Tungod nini nataw kining tulumanon. Sayri ang lungsod. Gidalit kaninyo ni Sibiana RPN DXKD Dipolog. Sayri ang lungsod.
Dinhi inyo madahog ang paghimay sa mga nag-unang isyu o gisgutan may kalabot na sa katilingban. Sayri ang lungsod.
Mga problema, reklamo sa komunidad nga gustong ipabot sa mga hintungdang opisina o namunuan. Sayri ang lungsod.
Inyong madungog dinhi lamang sa inyong gisaligang RPN DXKD Radio Runda Dipolog 1053 sa dial sa inyong mga radio. Sayri ang lungsod.
Makita usab sa inyong official Facebook page sa RPN DXKD Dipolog, YouTube ug Twitter. Please subscribe, like, share, and follow. Sayri ang lungsod. Sayri ang lungsod. At ang paminawa ug sunda kanunay matag adlawng Domingo alas 9 ngadto sa alas 11 ang takna sa kabuntagon ang inyo ug atong tulmanon. Sayri ang lungsod. Sayri ang lungsod.
News Recap Pupong on board. Pangitabo sa tulo ka distrito sa Zamboanga del Norte, kalambuan sa politika, showbiz o agrikultura. News Recap Pupong on board. Inilang sa Radio Runda alas 6 ngadto sa alas 9 adlawng Domingo.
RPN DXKD Radio Runda 1053 kHz.
I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and welcome back to MEDTALK Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. Now, in very rare cases, gastritis can actually lead to complications like a stomach ulcer or even stomach cancer at the worst. Now, this is why if you're feeling any of the warning signs that were mentioned earlier, don't ignore them. Gastritis, it may improve quickly with proper treatment. Dr. Joe, what are some of the complications ng gastritis pag pinabayaan lang ito?
Number 1, yun nga, ulcer. Tapos kapag napabayaan yung ulcer, pwede siyang pumuntok, pwedeng magdugo, which can lead to complications. Since gastritis kasi pamamaga siya, so nagkakaroon talaga ng changes to sa lining ng ng stomach natin, lalo na kung may H. pylori pa. As you said, it can also push our patients to develop stomach cancer.
Dr. Mitch, can we explain to our viewers how chronic gastritis can increase naman the risk of stomach cancer? Because it's one of the most diagnosed cancers worldwide.
When we check for bacteria that can cause gastritis, which is commonly associated with it, ang tawag po is Helicobacter pylori bacteria, that is associated with ulcer formation as well as cancer formation in the stomach. So if we treat the bacteria, we also lessen your risk for gastric cancer. So that is important.
Is there a certain time where they should seek help from a doctor right away?
If you are more than 55 years old and it's your first time to experience symptoms ng paninikmura, then it's about time that you really have to see your gastroenterologist and perform an endoscopy. For patients who have it long time, kasi nga because it is usually associated with chronicity, ibig sabihin years na pabalik-balik at natotolerate naman, kakain lang, nawawala na yung sakit or antacid lang, wala na. You go to your doctor especially if these symptoms are more frequent, more severe, and you are now presenting with more alarm symptoms. Pamumutla, nasusuka, hindi ka na makakain, pangangayaya.
What is the definitive test to have a diagnosis of gastritis, Dr. Mitch?
Gastritis, basically a histologic diagnosis. Ibig sabihin po, kumukurot kami ng sample dun sa lining ng stomach, and then sa microscope may makikita kang mga inflammatory cells. So that is really gastritis. But we suspect gastritis if we see some abnormalities during endoscopy. Ito po yung pagsilip sa lining ng stomach using an instrument para siyang stethoscope na merong camera at ilaw sa dulo. Outpatient procedure lang yun. So, in that procedure, we will see the lining of the stomach. Also, if there are abnormalities, especially now with image-enhanced procedures, makikita po namin na yung hindi na siya normal. So, we can do biopsies.
Now, Dr. Joe, what are some of the common complaints that someone would think of seeing a doctor? At what point do they feel na kailangan nilang pumunta sa doktor?
Anytime na may abdominal pain ka, lumalala, or may gamot ka nang iniinom pero parang hindi nag-improve. Usually yung time frame medyo matagal ang gamutan, and ang tandaan ng audience natin na pag gastritis, mga 4 to 8 weeks yan na gamutang dire-diretso. Tapos kung hindi nag-improve, then definitely kailangan magpatingin. Worst dyan would be anytime na meron ng alarm, namumutla ka, sobrang namamayat kahit lakas mo kumain, namumutla, suka ng suka, hindi makakain, sobrang sakit ng tiyan, may maitim sa dumi, kahit isa lang doon, check up ka agad. Kasi pwedeng senyalis na yun na baka may pumutok na ulcer or may cancer na pala, ganyan. So, huwag talagang baliwalain. Basta lumalala, hindi nag-improve, check up ka agad.
And Doc Joe, when it comes to the treatment for this, okay lang ba na mag-self-medicate ang isang tao? Since it's caused by H. pylori, pwede lang ba silang uminom ng antibiotic of their choice with this?
Alam naman natin yung batas, huwag mag-self-medicate na antibiotic. Tapos may specific talaga kasi na gamot para sa H. pylori na kailangan mo talaga ng prescription. And sa batas talaga natin, hindi ka pwedeng bumili ng antibiotic na walang reseta. So, and kailangan masigurado kasi natin na meron kang H. pylori. Kasi once again, siya yung major cause. Pain, pero hindi lang siya yung cause. So baka mamaya nag-antibiotic ka, wala ka palang H. pylori. Walang effect yung antibiotic. Una, signs sa pera, side effects. Yun, baka pwedeng mag-additional complications pa. So, huwag mag-self-medicate. Mas maganda magpatingin pa rin muna sa inyong doktor, lalo na kung involved na yung antibiotics natin.
Doc Mitch, how long is the usual course of treatment for someone with gastritis?
We have to determine if, first of all, if this gastritis is caused by the Helicobacter pylori bacteria. So, we have to treat the H. pylori for about 10 to 14 days. Then for gastritis per se, it depends on what we see. If there is no ulcer, it's just plain gastritis, we just give the medications for about 6 weeks.
Are the symptoms of an ulcer distinct from that of gastritis?
Hindi siya maaring ma-distinguish because ulcer is not diagnosed through kwentuhan lang. So we really do have to do confirmatory tests and do endoscopy.
Eating a good and healthy diet can contribute to lowering symptoms of gastritis because there are many benefits to eating a good, well-balanced diet. When we return, we'll talk about what types of food are recommended. We want to be your partner for a lifetime of good health. Keep it here on CNN Philippines.
Kini ang RPN DXKD Radio Runda 1053 kHz.
DXKD Ronda Balita. Mga balitang may kamatuuran, way gidapigan o hilisgutanan sa katawhan. DXKD Ronda Balita. Mga labas na mga balita gikan sa sinaligang mga tinugdagan. Balitang hinimo sa lawak balitaanan. Diin inyong madungog ang mga balitang lokal. regional, national ug international ug uban pang may kalabutan sa atong kadaliligban. Gihatod kaninyo live gikan sa RPN DXKD Radio Ronda Broadcast Center. DXKD Ronda Balita. Inyong madungog matag adlong Lunes hangtod Biyernes alas 12 hangtod sa alas 2 sa kahaponon ug makita usab sa RPN DXKD Dipolog Facebook page, YouTube ug sa Twitter. DXKD Ronda Balita.
Taytayan sa paglaom. Taytayan sa paglaom. Mga higala, kumusta? Ani ana ang tulumanon? Taytayan sa paglaom. Maghatod sa mga balita, hisgutanan ug pagpangumusta. Matag adlaw Sabado gikan alas 10 hangtod alas 12 ang takna sa kaudtuhon. Taytayan sa paglaom. Taytayan sa paglaom. Paturagas. Matod kaninyo sa mga lapas ng mga balita. Paturagas. Mga balitang gikan sa lokal, regional ug nasyonal nga mga tinubdan. Paturagas. Biskot sa bisan unsang hinisgutanan nga may kalabbigitan sa katawhan. Paturagas. Inyong mabati din hilamang sa RPN DXKD Dipolog 1053 sa dial sa inyong mga radyo. Ang tulumanong Paturagas, inyong mabati matag alas 8 hangtod alas 10 sa buntag, Lunes hangtod Biyernes. RPN DXKD Radio Ronda 1053 kHz.
I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MEDTALK, Health Talk, where your health always comes first. We always talk about the importance of a healthy diet because it really goes a long way. Now, there are several foods and beverages that can trigger heartburn and increase acid production in general. Doc Joe, let's give our viewers some examples of foods that may trigger or increase those symptoms ng gastritis.
General advice talaga naman natin, lalo na kung meron talaga silang pre-existing gastritis, would be iwasan ang maasim, maanghang, coffee, soft drinks. Minsan, onions, garlic, yun yung mga parang basic. But once again, minsan binibigay din natin sa patient. Kung natotolerate naman nila, okay lang. Pero kung napansin nila na it's causing symptoms, dapat iwasan na. Parang gano'n. Sometimes eating fatty food also also triggers your symptoms.
Continue natin doon sa advice mo. Bigyan mo ng advice sa ating mga viewers kung anong magandang mga pagkain that can decrease acid production or keep them at normal at best.
Ngayon yung sasabihin natin na meron talagang pagkain na pwedeng magpababa ng acid, medyo pinag-aaralan pa yun eh. Wala pa talagang definite na masasabi na ganun talaga. Although may mga nakikita na tayo na parang ginger, mga lemon juice, ganyan. Kaya lang, once again, walang pag-aaral pa to say na they're really effective.
Now, Doc Joe, ang timing ba ng pagkain ng isang tao can contribute to gastritis? Yung mga mahilig mag-midnight snack dyan o yung mga bago matulog, kumakain, could this contribute to gastritis?
Kasi remember, ang trigger ng ating pag-produce ng acid natin is actually food intake. So, pag kakain tayo, that stimulates the brain to sabihin sa tiyan na, kakain, kailangan ng panunaw. So, it now produces more acid. Lalo na kung, di ba, mahilig natin yung midnight snack. Minsan, mga oily, fatty, protein, yan. So, when that happens, yun, nasa-stimulate lalo na mag-produce ng acid and makes you at risk na mag-develop ng gastritis.
Now, Doc Mitch, saan nakukuha ang H. pylori? Paano ito pumapasok sa katawan ng isang tao?
Is human-to-human transmission. So, fecal-oral route, so naisusubo siya at naidudumi. Yung dumi na yon, carry niya yung H. pylori, then that can be ingested by another person. But actually, sa totoo lang, Doc Freddy, hindi nila talaga matukoy how one gets it. In other ways, maaring siguro sa infected scopes, or bakit yung iba hindi naman na ang kakaroon at bakit yung iba meron.
it's best to know the management for it. So have yourself checked to get the proper diagnosis in order to be treated properly if indeed you have H. pylori and symptoms of gastritis for that matter. But in general, keeping healthy, washing your hands frequently will not just help you stay away COVID-19, but prevent other diseases as well and keep your body overall healthy. Before we go, Doc Mitch, do you have any advice for our viewers when it comes to not just gastritis, but your overall gut health?
We have to be really conscious on what we eat. No? There are certain food triggers that can trigger dyspepsia and not necessarily gastritis. Alright? So at the same time, we have to do exercise, and especially for dyspepsia pala and heartburn, no? Yung mga may reflux. What is important is water intake because it can help dilute the acid that is inside the stomach and can also help wash away the acid that has gone up into your esophagus. So siguro isa po yun na maipapayo sa mga nanonood po natin ngayon, water.
And Dr. Joe, do you have any advice for our viewers when it comes to gastritis and trying to prevent it?
Kumain lang ng tama, huwag masyadong mabilis kumain, bagalan ng pagkain, choose the proper food. Kung may nararamdaman, magpa-check up. I think yun na yung aking best advice.
Thank you, gastroenterologist Dr. Marie Michelle Simbol-Cloa and family medicine specialist Dr. Jonathan Babsay for sharing with us your insights. Always a pleasure to have you both on the show. Here on MEDTALK Health Talk, we hope to bring you the knowledge and care that you need. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and we'll see you again next time. Stay safe, everyone.